I always believed that I was living my life by. The book works diligently and regularly. The thing is, don't expect handouts. Adults in charge act appropriately, or at least. That's what I thought during the previous 10 years while working 60-hour weeks. Erica is my name in my marketing company. I'm 35, single, and just 2 weeks old, Dawson. I bought my first home a long time ago. Following the death of my great aunt Ruth, she gave me a modest inheritance, but life-altering but sufficient to provide my funds the boost it required because I was 25. I had been living on a shoestring budget. In a small communal flat inn. I'm skipping holidays in Sacramento, brewing my own coffee and refusing to go out on the town. Others lavished money on Coachella or trendy purses that I was subtly constructing. My down payment after I reached my objective. I spent $300,000 on a cute little cottage with 2 bedrooms and a quiet. The area close to East Sacramento that's blossoming once more without a mortgage. The floors are creaking and the obligation is solely mine. Old cabinetry and disgusting. 1980s, yet I adore it. I even began performing the renovations on my own. My new best friend is YouTube. Sunflower borders that are flacking off in the middle. The wall of the living room when my phone rang. My mother said, "Come over, Erica, honey. We have a family gathering next Saturday." Mating, she remarked, holding those two adorable. When she's being cunning, her tone is, "What's this family meeting for?" I inquired. Halting in the middle of peeling, "Oh, it's a surprise. Be here by 4:00, she added casually, "and bring that chocolate cake from Sweet. What is this juniper near your property, Mom?" Regarding the gathering that I urged just now, your Kyle, his brother, and his fiancée will be. In addition to your uncles and cousins who raise red flags since it's unexpected. "Just be here, Erica," she said and hung up. Rolling my eyes, I returned to the whatever the wallpaper was, it could wait. Unlike me, I had to reconstruct my home. Kyle, my brother, has always owned. He was given the varsity athlete title. While I was in high school, I was in the. He left the science club in college to seek artistic independence as I powered through 4 years of darkness. Courses to obtain my degree in marketing. As we work full-time and in some way our parents didn't appear to mind at all. Kyle this and Kyle that are constants when we were children and each had activities on the. Guess which one they showed during the same weekend. Till Kyle's high school graduation. They had a DJ at their backyard party. Graduation from college, a quiet meal at a. I still recall my time at the strip mall diner. On my 16th birthday, I received a used. Kyle acquired a second-hand Jeep for his mountain bike. When I asked my mother about it the next year, stated Kyle needs it to reach his band practices, as though my internships and teaching jobs on the weekends weren't as priceless, but I've never been inclined to. I simply put my head down and complained. Worked harder, and the week went by quickly as I continued repairing the bungalow. By Saturday, I had completed removing the wallpaper and saw those prepped the living room. Every blister was made better by the fresh white walls. Felt worthwhile when I visited that morning. Charming juniper and gathered up Mom's favorite buttercream-topped chocolate cake. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw frosting. I observed the old family homes. Uncle, the curb and driveway were packed. Aunt Lisa's hybrid and Ray's old Subaru even. Mariah's bright yellow bug, my cousin. Was this more than just a get-together? I gave this a lot of thought. Breath took hold of the cake and went. Mom yelled inside Erica's room, swooping to seize the ideal cake. Timing, we're going to sit down shortly. Looked about Kyle and his fiancée's room. Emily and her companions sat on the couch together all. Dad smiled and spoke with Uncle Ray. Others were moving in the direction of the dining room. I asked Kyle what was happening in the room. He smiled softly. You'll notice that. Didn't aid in the knot that was developing in my. Mom had placed the table with the stomach. Good China Thanksgiving level of seriousness. Whatever came up, it wasn't a casual one. It was obviously something significant, so I took my sit next to my cousin Mariah, who was looking as perplexed as I was. Are you aware of the nature of this? She shook her head, whispering, I have no idea. Your mother just mentioned how vital it was. A family news supper was distributed. Roasted chicken with scalloped potatoes. The cake and vegetables I brought were positioned like a crown diamond in the middle. The atmosphere for dessert was courteous. Light-hearted talks, but there was a stiffness underneath everyone's smiles. Was at last waiting for something. My mother stood when the platters were full and used a spoon to tap her glass, saying, I want to. I appreciate everyone's presence today, she said. Grinning broadly, we have some fantastic news. She turned to face Kyle. Emily and Kyle are anticipating the table. Broke out in applause and cheers. Emily reddened and Kyle proudly displayed his, placing a hand on her back and saying, and there. We're getting married, Mom continued. Already talking about locations, I grinned and praised and genuinely delighted for them. Nevertheless, after everything, Mom fired a look at Dad, then at Emily and Kyle. Prior to her gaze falling on, I noticed something in her face that made my. There's more news than just stomach twists. The room became quiet, she added, as several of Erica recently purchased her own. She gave me a few gestures toward home. Cousins muttered a belated nod. Congrats, she is 35 years old, single and childless. No partner. What caused my cheeks to burn? That are not related to Kyle at all. And Emily, she added, are going to begin a family. They require a genuine house. Erica froze as she spoke in a beautiful voice, but firm. Here is your chance to be. Give generously to show your brother how much you care. You ought to give them your house. I blinked in silence, anticipating the punchline. You can resume renting since it never happened. You don't need all, Mom answered casually. That area, do you believe that was? Brave, hold on till you hear my words. Next, remember to subscribe so that you don't overlook this family gathering. Changed into something that nobody. As anticipated, I glanced around the table. Dad finally nodded solemnly next to Mom. Kyle. His eyes retained an uneasy look as they met mine. Combination of entitlement and remorse, that's what a considerate idea, Aunt Lisa remarked. Cheerfully, families should watch out for each other. A nod of consensus came from all around the table and said, this was an ambush, not a proposal. When I said, you can't be serious, my voice. Of course we are, Mom said sharply and softly. Said her tone no longer warm. You have a house that Kyle and Emily need. Even without your own family, I stood my chair squeaking on the hardwood floor. You want my house to be given to them. I spent 10 years working to pay for that. I financed by sacrifice and inheritance. Don't be self-centered, Dad. Take a moment to consider. I smiled at your brother's selfishness for once. Sadly, I've worked all my adult life. Life for that house. I didn't receive assistance. I earned it. I didn't receive any handouts, but Kyle. Mom answered no, and I said, now louder. Emily did not touch her in any way. Dramatically small bump on the belly, and Kyle began to sniffle and glared at me, as if I had just trampled over their wedding. How could you be so aloof, Mom? Cake. How can you demand your own brother? Request that I discard all I've created. Why doesn't Kyle make as much as I do? I snapped. Did murmurs reverberate throughout the table? Unappreciative and challenging, you've always been this way, Mom growled, contemplating. Just of you, I'm not quitting my house, I uttered steadily, that's final, and then Mom lunged, regarding the cake that I purchased and threw. It struck me squarely on the chocolate, and my face was plastered with buttercream. Onto the floor and down my shirt, No one hurried to aid when the room froze. They looked and said, there's Colby. I wiped my eyes, happy, and picked up my purse, and came out after me, shouting. Started to ascend. Selfish, ungrateful cow, you're not. I got into my car with my kid. My hands were shaking so much that I could hardly somehow insert the key into the ignition. Arrived at home still smeared with chocolate icing that had solidified into my skin, feels like a degrading badge. Fell on my second-hand couch, the identical one I had pulled from my previous flat, and simply sat there attempting to take in the emotional devastation caused by My phone buzzed constantly in the evening, following a notice about Mom's missed calls from Kyle's dad. You're overreacting. Present them with the home you've always owned. Your pregnant brother needs to be so self-centered. Assistance, and you turn away. I mute. Threw the phone across the room. I had always come in second, too. Kyle bought Nike sneakers when we were youngsters. I purchased sneakers from a bargain bin, he proceeded to. I stayed at home and read during basketball camp. They hired a caterer when he turned 16. Truck and put up my party lights. Sheet cake with plastic in the kitchen. Forks, and they now anticipate that I will simply me the one item I'd ever really constructed for me, therefore I considered the one at our grandmother's house. She equally left Kyle and myself in her. Will we permit our parents to remain there? Of generosity, never requested rent and never made demands, yet we were each legally the owners. I dug out the manila half that evening. My filing cabinet's folder contained. Grandma's will is still quite clear. Ownership is split 50-50 between Kyle and me. We're visitors in someone else's house. And I found out the following morning. I was in the middle of calling a real estate attorney when I called I clicked on the Facebook notification and stopped my mother from making a public post. Your own child can occasionally break your. Erica declined to assist her. When he most needed her, his brother was pregnant. I was there, and the comments were even worse. Erica was really chilly, and several people simply don't comprehend how a family may be intact. Dwelling for herself, which I almost found repulsive. Dropped the phone, but rather than sobbing, I began to grin, since if they tried to act shady, but they obviously forgot. Half of their roof was still mine, not a. One individual brought up the section where my mom threw a cake in my face. Someone asked why I was supposed to give up the flat where I spent years working. Afford while I browsed Every Facebook comment landed like a kick to the stomach, and the worst thing about my mom liked them so much that she responded with statements such as, we brought her up better than. This was more than just a post. Smear campaign, at which point something within me broke any remaining loyalty I had. Broke, so I grabbed my phone and looked, looking for a real estate lawyer in the East. The first name that came to me was Sacramento. This is the Blackwell Law Office. I need to know if Jenna works as a receptionist. To discuss property with someone. Rights, I said in a steady, focused voice. I sat across from Jeremy a few hours later. Blackwell was a calm man with good eyes. And I put everything out with a quiet passion. The apartment will be attacked by the Facebook embarrassment, so to be clear. He tapped his pen and said, "You and your grandfather passed on your grandmother's house. You allow your parents to live there 50-50. Rentry, and now that they have attempted to make you give up your own house, I would like to know your legal alternatives." Said, "I'm not seeking retribution, simply bounds and clarity." He went over the will. You own half, thus it's easy to compel a sell or ask your brother to purchase you. Your parents don't have any out at market value. What is the first step for legal standing? I said, "I'll draft the notice today." I gave my renovations my whole attention. Removed the carpet and painted the trim. Physical labor assisted in reducing the noise level. My doorbell rang a few days later through the Mom, Dad, Kyle, Emily, and I didn't. "We know you're in there, Erica, so open it." Mom barked, "We must discuss this." Dad's voice thundered, "Dumb letter. You have no right to strike me behind hers. I've recorded you, ungrateful brat, on my phone." Mom yelled after everything we had done for us. "I still haven't opened the door for you. You are attempting to conceive." Emily, a homeless brother, yelled through. "Even for you, Kyle, this door is low." I also made a note of every insult, every threat they face, every guilt trip. They tossed for almost 15 minutes, then at last I sent the sounds to quiet. He called Jeremy. "This instantly becomes harassment. We can ask for a restraining order," he replied. "Order if it goes on, but to be honest, this only makes your position stronger every week." Later, he gave their lawyer another call. Contacted them in an attempt to mediate the mediation was set for Monday at. I arrived early at Jeremy's office wearing a blue pantsuit that I had previously saved for major presentations. Jeffrey greeted me in a composed nod. "You have the right to do so. They frighten you, Kyle, my parents, and..." Emily showed up with their mother, a lawyer. Looked at me, then said, "Traitor." The mediator started by providing a summary of the facts. According to their attorney, pressuring a sale would be unkind and annoying. Jeffrey submitted the Facebook post with composure and the recording of harassment as proof number 2. After several hours, both attorneys came back, offering to sell the house split. Moves forward equally between Kyle and me, as Mom broke down because the will said so. "Please. We're your family," Erica pleaded. I apologize for losing my temper over the cake. Gazed at her, recalling all the slights. "Every time the house is neglected, it will be sold," I stated, and that's when Jeremy started. When they were writing the agreement, they were furious. Like heat, it crushed in, but I felt nothing. 2 months went by in a haze of judicial proceedings. The house sold quickly after the remodeling and showings. After fees, Kyle and I each have a hot market. Obtained $175,000. We didn't communicate again. Everything was reviewed by the attorneys. Later, Jeffrey informed me that my parents, angry yet utterly helpless, they'd lived on rent. That time was over. I asked Jeremy, "What are they going to do now?" "At our last meeting, as a down payment, your brother used his portion. He said your parents will be paid, relocating to live with him and Emily." I nodded and obtained a mortgage for the remainder, experiencing an odd mixture of shame and my relief effectively compelled my parents to away from their house, but then I recalled the cake outside the door yelling on Facebook. After they had made their decisions, I added, and plans for your share were requested by you, Jeremy. Investment portfolio that I claimed to have initiated, in collaboration with a financial advisor. Assemble a variety of stocks, bonds, and rate are intelligent, he remarked, unless there's. We've concluded our business, and I shook his. Thank you for supporting me and standing my. I looked back at my apartments. Around the shiny, new hardwood floors. Kitchen spotless, paint job, and lights everywhere. My colleague Rachel answered the phone. How are you doing, Eric? I'm okay. Actually, the last money from the transaction is in my account and your family's small. I was not invited to Kyle's wedding since it was dirty. He is expecting Rachel with Emily. Paused, are you all right with not fulfilling your nephews who can grow up believing that I'm the villain? And to be honest, perhaps they never considered me family, I was just convenient. Knew my parents would never experience it. Had prioritized Kyle throughout their lives. They weren't going to grow self-awareness in their 60s following. I poured a glass of wine and hung up. Entered my tiny balcony. The sky in Sacramento was streaking with warm orange and dying pink. Half a year ago, the notion of being cut off from my whole family would have devastated me, but now I felt calm. I got a text on my phone from a mutual. The baby born to friend Emily weighed 7 lb 60. I looked and saw that everyone was healthy. Waiting for feelings of regret, anguish, and rage. Nothing appeared, only a silent acknowledgement like learning about a stranger's accomplishment. Now Kyle, they were all under one roof. My parents and baby Emily reside in a home financed by half of Kyle's. The mortgage left by grandma's legacy. They would probably contribute to retirement, but I didn't feel sorry for them because they had succeeded. Evident that I was never the sister or daughter of. The resource that got the purse returned was me, Aunt. Greeted me calmly into my flat. Silence which some could describe as loneliness. I sat on my bookcase and called it freedom. One box of pictures of me and my grandmother alone. She attempted to strike a balance and regarded us equally. The scales and I was at last finished. In the event that you have ever been burning for others, supposed to provide everything and make requests for. Nothing in the comments told me where I stood. Eventually subscribe if you're interested in. Think it's not selfish to establish limits. Let's encourage one another and share our tales and remind everyone that silence, strength is equally worthy of respect.